What's up, everyone? It's Scott Winroth here. Welcome to another edition of Creator Life Live. This week, I'm really excited to bring to you a sort of hybrid Creator Life Live slash blog you want the time you have podcast recording live episode with a special guest and friend of mine, Kelsey Hoff. Kelsey Hoff and I met a couple years ago, but we met in a networking group and have just completely been in touch because we share a lot of similarities in creating content, reading, blogging, and sharing ideas. So I thought it'd be fun to bring Kelsey on the Creator Life Live show tonight, especially because Kelsey is everything that Creator Life is all about. She's producing content. She's got a course. She's kind of doing it all on her own and building up her team and building up her skills. So let me stop talking about her and let's go ahead and bring Kelsey on. So let's see here. Got to add her to the show. There she is. Oh, Kelsey, welcome to Creator Life.
Hello?
Can you hear us? Can you
I
hear
can
me?
hear you now. Yeah, I mean, I'm technology.
Yeah, no. Welcome to Creator Life Live. Looks like you're buffering a little bit, but that's okay. Kelsey,
Yeah, turning
so
off.
tell me what's going on in your world. I know you're a blogger, a content specialist, a copywriter, someone who does is very creative, and I know I've been watching you do a lot of stuff over the years. So give us a little backstory about who is Kelsey Hoff, and tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, so I'm a writer. I think that's got to be like the one constant of everything that's changed and everything that I've tried and
Mm-hmm.
failed at and experimented with. So I moved to Chicago in 2015 to get my master's in poetry. So I owe a lot of money now and that back. Um, but yeah, so that kind of, there's a lot of stuff that obviously happened before that, but that was kind of like my first big career move towards writing, even though like I always kind of wanted to go into writing. There, like where I lived, there just wasn't a whole lot of, unless I wanted to be a technical writer, and I did not want to be a technical writer. So coming here and getting that master's was kind of like my making a big decision to do something else besides customer service.
Mm-hmm.
And I feel like that's the true start of this story anyway. So grad school was a really fun, crazy couple of years, and it got me to Chicago. So like one of the big things that I was telling myself when I was applying for school was like, you know, if it's an MFA, it's not going to get me a job, first of all. So moving to Chicago was part of the rationale of like, I'll be able to meet people. I'll be able to, there's stuff going on, and just being here, I knew it was going to open up new things, which it totally has, sadly, more so than the MFA program did. But, I didn't know that was how things are. So,
Nobody does.
so
That's
after,
life, right? Yeah.
yeah.
So
So
cool. Yeah. Go ahead. So basically, I like to give viewers a little bit of an idea like where you're creating content right now before when we get started. So I know you have a personal website, or what I would call a personal brand website, kelseyhoffwrites.com. Are you creating content anywhere else, or is that kind of, because I know you create content for other people, but also you
True.
have your site, right?
Yeah, I have that website, which I blog on about copywriting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing about copywriting. It's very meta. And then I have a personal blog that I started up called, no, it doesn't have a name. It's just on Medium. It's just like, look up my name on Medium. And that's where I write about sort of my mental health journey, trauma recovery,
Mm-hmm.
crying in public. And I weave in some pop culture things, and just talk about my experience and things that I wish people would talk about more. So that's something I'm passionate about, and something that I'd like to do more on the business side of my writing too. So part of that rationale of starting that up was to get more exposure around those specific topic areas.
Mm-hmm.
And to kind of practice what I'm preaching with the journal to blog stuff too, because that stuff is what's coming out of my journal. So
Yeah, and you have a really cool platform called Journal to Blog. I know you've shared it with me a few times. I know you were part of the Creative Your Ever Summit, so we heard a little bit about that on that. But give us a 2-second kind of overview of what Journal to Blog is.
2 seconds.
Because we're going to talk about it more, so don't go too deep into it.
Right. So that is just kind of a more mindful way I created specifically for solopreneurs and for small business owners to really keep track of their ideas, and sort of, I like to talk about it as like an inventory, or like mining, or like any physical metaphor of like getting all the stuff together in one place and looking at it later. I think it's useful as a mindfulness tool for just like processing your stuff around your business, but also it helps you take a step back and look at it in different ways to turn that into content you can publish.
Now, see, and I love that, because I know that I try to journal every day. I don't journal every day. I try to. I say, and I struggle with that, honestly. But I know when I do journal, I get a much like clearer mindset of what's going on in my world and how I'm thinking and acting. But also, I've always thought too, like, wow, this is a lot of content I'm creating that no one may see. That's why I always thought your concept of journal to blog was a great concept that you can use to sort of create content with. So yeah, how do you use your journal? Like, what's your journaling sort of practice, and how do you use it to create content?
So there are a number of different purposes that I think journaling serves for me.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes when I need to figure something out, it's my slow process of figuring things out. Sometimes I want to record something important that happened that that's taking up a lot of space in my mind.
Mm-hmm.
Putting stuff on paper gets it out of your brain, and that, like, you can almost feel a physical lift when that happens a lot of the time.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of therapeutic things that happen. And I think the insights that come out of it have turned into what I want to share with people. And I definitely don't even try to journal every day, because this is not how I roll. A lot of people say to write every day. I think Maya Angelou is the one who says, like, you have to show up at the same time every day and make that date with yourself to get that creative spark. And that works for some people, and that's great for them, but that is not what I do. And I found that, like, pressuring yourself to keep up with a certain pace, it works for my client work, like, for sure,
Mm-hmm.
but not for stuff that I have to do a lot of thinking around. So yeah, I journal when I feel like it, and when I have something important to write about. And then when the mood strikes, when I'm ready to do some stuff with it, I will pull that journal back out and go back and read it, which is where all the magic happens, because which is amazing, because when you're journaling, and like, everybody has fears that somebody's going to find their journal, that that's the worst thing that could happen to you. But really, it's like, if you're using it purposefully, that's like where all your good ideas are, but they're also like surrounded by garbage too. So
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so there are, like, it's fun when I go I'll read back, and I'll be like, okay, this day I was out in left field. This day, I remember this was great, and this is dig into a little bit deeper, or tackle in a more strategic way to make it intelligible for other people.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So tell me an example of a post that you journaled that you ended up turning, like, give me an example of a post that you started as a journal entry and then turned into a piece of content.
Probably. And okay, so this is like going to tell you another way that I another way that you can do this process.
Mm-hmm.
There's one, I think the most recent one on my Medium blog is about um, vulnerability and
Mm-hmm.
about crying as a sign of vulnerability specifically, which is something that even besides like a journal, it's bigger than a journal entry. It's something that I've been like struggling with slash working on slash,
Mm-hmm.
having stuff with in my life for a long time. And um, there were when I have gone back to read in my journal, I have like looked at different days and thoughts and things that I wrote down, but it's not that it came from one specific
Mm-hmm.
entry, probably. So that's one. There's also one there about the ring, and like I have been also keeping a journal about movies that I've been watching, and um, those two specifically were like I watched during a time when I was like really trying to wrap my head around um, my relationship with horror movies, weirdly enough. And I like, as emotional as those movies were for me, like more so than being scary, like that definitely came from some heavy journaling.
Mm-hmm. I think
So
that's what I love about your method is that you and I we kind of know each other because of I love to read. We remember we had the book club and then COVID kind of ruined the book club
yeah, yeah.
situation. But basically, I've been on a little bit of a self help spiritual journey myself, if you will, and that includes
Mm-hmm.
blogging and journaling. And the thing I love that you've married two things I think that are super important: creating content, even if it's not marketing content, but just content that like is helpful for you and to put it out there to share with the world and to create conversations around topics that you care about, but also and maybe your cat cares about, yeah. And but also you it's like the spiritual end of it, like the internal, like taking out what's important, what's not important, understanding there's going to be good thoughts and ideas and content. There's going to be sometimes negative or bad or different things. In that way, it creates sort of a comprehensive approach to understanding that your mindset is a huge aspect of your content, and if you have to write a lot, you have to like wire your mind to do that, so I want to switch gears a little bit. As a sort of writer for hire, right?
Hmm.
You have to sometimes create content quickly and create content on demand. Do you have any? Is that
I have to do that a lot, actually.
yeah, yeah? Do you like tell us how that works? I mean, like, do you have any like do you just try to do it, or like do you have like a system, or do you think that doing your own content helps you with that? Like, tell us a little bit about like creating content for other people, especially when it's maybe something. Let's face it, sometimes it's content you don't really want to create. We all have situations like that. Any ideas
Yeah.
around creating content for others, and how any tips that someone who maybe is looking to become a writer might find interesting?
So with my client work, there's the writing process is really, really as it is, otherwise for my own writing. So for my clients, it all starts with an intake interview,
Mm-hmm.
which um, I don't know if everyone does it this way, but I like to. It's all about asking really, really good questions and getting to that stuff that they don't realize is a great story, but like anyone else would want to hear that story. So um, when I'm at my computer cranking out words all day, I'm starting with a framework that I put together that we agreed on that has already been worked out. So and also the time in between doing that intake interview and sitting down to write, I'm processing already, and so then when I sit down the second time, I have absorbed that information, and my subconscious it's all up in there. So
So it helps you produce, right? That's important, right? When you're a writer, it's all about producing, right? So good.
Yeah.
So another thing I saw in your bio is that you love long form copy, and I'm like not a big fan of long form copy mainly because I'm lazy and it takes a lot of time to create long form copy. So explain to listeners and viewers what a long form copy is, or long form post, and then give us some ideas of something that maybe why you like them.
Sure. And I think part of the reason why I phrase it that way is like there is a big difference in between copy and content.
Mm-hmm.
And um it's complicated. Like really, I I'm not it, so content, I think people when you're in the marketing world and the small business part of the marketing world,
Mm-hmm.
like people don't have it's harder to find places to write content that just purely want good writing that's entertaining and like about a certain subject, really
Mm-hmm.
specific area to find work like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but sales copy, so when it's copy, it is closely tied to selling something.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I really, really like to write is blogs and articles and things like that. So I like to say long form copy because I don't want to restrict myself to like a single, type of work. But um, I don't know. I just felt like that was what would a good way to say it that would resonate with business owners
Sure.
because they're looking for somebody who can write things that will sell what they have. And that includes landing pages and um, you know, one pagers and case studies and other website copy, obviously, which is one of the other things that I write the most. That's probably one of the things that I write the most for my new clients, and then blogs is probably the second,
Mm-hmm.
thing that I do the most. But so short form for me, um, one, it's more about selling all the time, which
Yeah.
I'm not a huge fan of. Like that's what makes the money, and that's why it's easier to get that kind of work. But I don't like. I don't know. I don't like. I like to really dig into something, and I don't feel like you get the space to do that very much with short form. Um, so that's kind of a long answer for
Yeah, no, I
for
love it. In
that.
fact, I think that I'm thinking at doing a magazine, a quarterly magazine for Content Academy. This is the first time I'm talking about it publicly, so
Ooh.
newsflash, I'm thinking about doing a quarterly magazine, and because I love magazines, and maybe an e-zine, maybe not a print magazine, but an e-zine. And I think that with that we can really dig into some deeper topics, like some deeper ideas, when we have a little bit more words to talk about it, and can go in a little far, interviews and in depth. So we'll have to talk about that at some point. We'll need some long form copy for that for sure. So we can dig into some deeper ideas and deeper topics and go farther versus the spammy sort of sales copy that we see all the time. Which I'm not pointing fingers. Believe me, I'm all about that too. But also, I know for me, I like to know. I like to dig deeper, look under the hood, and understand what is the true strategy behind it. That's why I think some long form copy and some ideas that could be turned into like a trade publication, I think would be ideal for what we're doing, right? For what we care about, which is awesome.
Yeah.
So more to come on that, Kelsey. I'd love your help on that at some point, but we'll have to talk.
For sure.
But basically, yeah. So look, I know you're sort of a full time creator as it is, a full time writer, full time. You're not a full time blogger in the sense that you're making money off your blog per se, which is fine. Everyone's like that. Me too. But what's the roadmap? Any ideas for continuing to monetize your efforts? You want to just get more clients, or selling a product, or doing anything like that?
So what my ideal 5-year plan probably would be is to um, get deeper into that trauma recovery, mental health
Mm-hmm.
niche, which I know there's like I feel is so broad because even beyond therapists, you have the tech explosion going on with apps for everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I just sent in a pitch for a platform that matches people to therapists, and like that would be amazing. I would
Mm-hmm.
love writing about that. So behavioral health, mental health, those things. I would probably want to get deeper into that niche and focus focus more on those clients. Um, and enough that, and I think once I get into that type of niche work, I'll be able to raise my rates a little bit and maybe spend more time on the journal to blog program and have that become a bigger thing that
Yeah,
I do,
and it
and
will be. It's
more
just
time for my own writing. Someday, maybe say that I will unearth that poetry collection from grad school and finish it, but who knows?
I love it. I love it. I think that I know your journal to blog program is great. That's why I'm looking forward to seeing it grow. I'm looking forward to helping it become successful myself. And let's talk about that a little bit more again. So I know you have a Facebook group. Tell us about your Facebook group. Your Facebook group.
Yeah, so that's something that I started at the end of last year. I thought it would be a great way to just it's a place for people to talk about writing who aren't super writers, who aren't like you, like you're I mean, you're a
Mm-hmm.
content creator, but you're like when I'm sure you wouldn't just call yourself a writer. Like, and for especially other types of business owners who are, they're doing whatever it is they do, and like they would like to be able to write some content, and there's a lot of, I know this myself, there's a lot of stuff out there for people who want to be full-time writers. There's not so much out there for people who just want to do it and have it not be like their whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not, it's also not super, super like beginner level, like this is what a blog is.
Mm-hmm.
So it's a community for people who are an expert in their own right in something,
Mm-hmm.
and they just need a little bit of help getting their ideas together, and being able to ask the questions that they want to know. There's a huge value in having people who are in the same spot to read each other's work and you know be able to develop that critical eye and be able to look at your own stuff as if you're reading somebody else's work.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what I'm really hoping will happen in that group, is that people will start to share their stuff and say like, what do you think? But right
So
now we're just kind of in the phase of getting to know each other and
yeah, so
stuff like that.
that don't you have like a weekly? You're doing like a weekly check-in or something like that, I believe, with your site with the group. You had something
I've
going
been
on.
posting stuff in there, like conversation starters, and I'll often check in and what's everybody working on this weekend and whatnot.
Mm-hmm. All right.
And
Well,
sometimes I'll put out the call to see if people will want to have anything they're currently working on and want to discuss.
cool. Well, hey, I'll post some stuff in there for sure. So
Nice.
tell our listeners where they can find the group.
That's on Facebook. It's the Journal to Blog Writers Room, and you can find it. I also have a page on there that's Kelsey Hoff Writes.
Okay, we'll add the links to the show notes, the episode notes, all the good stuff. And then also, Kelsey, tell us where they can find your website if they're looking to hire you. I may actually have a client for you that works in the mental
Okay.
health space, so let's talk about that too. So, not on this obviously, but soon. But ultimately, tell us where they can learn more about hiring you or more about information about what you have going on and your program.
My website is kelseyhoffwrites.com, and I'm also on LinkedIn, so you can find me there.
Cool. And the journal, the blog, Facebook group we already mentioned. So yeah, so Kelsey, it's been an honor and pleasure to talk to you as always. I know that you and I have a lot in common, and I enjoy seeing what you've got going on because I know it's always cool stuff. So I look forward to having you back on the show in the future, and I hope you will accept another invite in the future. But in the meantime, keep on creating content, Kelsey. And any final thoughts before we wrap up tonight?
No, have a good night. It was great. It was a great conversation.
Yeah, likewise. I think there's some good tips in there, better blogging tips. I know what the conversation was surrounded about around blogging tips, but the truth is blogging has so many forms and so many different things. You can do long form, short form. You can do, and I personally think the best tip that people can take away from our conversation tonight is that knowing that you're going to, if you're going to create content, you have to really have the right mindset. You have to possibly take Kelsey's journal to blog ideas and concepts and use them for yourself to learn how to create great content. And then you got to keep doing it, right? You just got to keep doing it all the time, and then it'll work out. It's going to take a lot of failures to equal a success, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. So Kelsey, as always, thank you, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Okay.
All right. Have a good night.
You too. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for watching this edition of Creator Life Live, also a live recording of the Blog You Want the Time You Have podcast. Be sure to like and subscribe to this channel on YouTube, and make sure you ring that bell to get notifications. And also know that every week at 8 p.m. Central Time, we do Creator Life Live, where we talk to really cool people, and we talk about interesting things that are happening in the creator community, tools, tips, strategies, web stuff, online marketing. We go all over the board. We probably are maybe a little too broad, but at the end of the day, this is all stuff that you kind of need to know to be a better person, a better creator, and just get it done. Kelsey is a great example of getting it done. She's got a lot of great work. She's got her own little sort of journal to blog system, and I really hope you take a chance to look at what she's got and really take a chance of trying to get her, hire her or join her program, join her Facebook group. In the meantime, like I said, being part of the Content Academy community is easy. Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Check out our Facebook group at meetup.com/Content Academy. I'm sorry, our meetup group at meetup.com/Content Academy. We have a Facebook page at Team Content Academy. And also be sure to like this. If you're watching this on Facebook, thank you. Give us a like. And we'll see you next week. Bye for now.